When the snows fall and the white winds blow, the lone wolf dies, but the pack survives.
After Sansa's line in the trailer, theories began to spring up everywhere about who that lone wolf actually was, with many people believing it was actually Sansa and that she was going to betray House Stark and because of it, die in Season 7. But I think it's super obvious who the lone wolf actually is. Warning, this video contains potential spoilers and leaked material I've seen which I'm also basing my guesses off of, so abandon ship if you're trying to stay spoiler-free. So last time we left off with the siblings, really first cousins, they had reunited, Sansa apologized for being a bitch to him, and then promptly went back to kinda being a bitch to him. We saw in Season 6 that they were not communicating well. Jon wasn't listening to her, but she really wasn't giving him straightforward advice.
Just don't do what he wants you to do.
Oh, it's good advice.
You think that's obvious?
Well, it is a bit obvious.
Yeah, I get you, Sansa, but seriously, kinda shit advice for Jon. So Sansa made an arrangement for the Knights of the Vale to come save Jon, but instead of getting all the praise she felt she deserved, Jon instead was made the king in the north. Cue Littlefinger's knowing look, and Sansa realizing she just lost the power she wanted oh so bad, and her need to get it back. So first, let's acknowledge, yes, we will be getting a little Jon and Sansa drama in Season 7.
You start wearing a crown.
When you question my decisions in front of the other lords and ladies, you undermine me.
So we can't question your decisions anymore.
Of course you can.
We've been told directly by Sansa and Jon's actors that they will be butting heads in this season, and Sansa is a little butthurt about Jon becoming king of the north and taking the power that she feels like she should have had. So they're gonna have some disagreements in Season 7, but unfortunately, those two actors have made it sound like it might go beyond that. In an interview, Kit said, "There is definite tension between them right from the first scene. There are the same problems. She questions his decisions and command. He doesn't listen to her. But as far as where that goes or takes them or how dark it gets, we'll see. It gets past sibling squabbling. It gets into two people power struggling." So that sounds intense, but I don't think it's as bad as Kit and Sophie are trying to make it sound. Those two are like besties in real life, so them exaggerating their characters' rivalry in Season 7 would be something they would do. It would be right up their alley to kind of hype up something more than it actually was. But again, I'm not denying that there's going to be no butting of heads. Again, Sansa's a little butthurt, and she's going to question some of Jon's decisions, which honestly, I would too if the newly King of the North was like, hey, let's head south again. Be like, hey, remember what happened to the last King of the North when he was in the south?
The Lannisters send their regards.
Yeah. Shit didn't go well. I'd also question why who I think is my half-brother is going to meet with the daughter of the man that caused the death of our grandfather and uncle, tried to kill our father, and meet with someone who is also the sister of the man who supposedly raped our aunt to death. So I can see her logically arguing with him, especially in episode 2. Both Kit and Sophie have stated Sansa makes some not so honorable decisions and tries to manipulate. But if I thought my brother was making a huge mistake and wasn't listening to me, I might too, to keep him safe. But what makes me think this drama between them isn't going to be that bad is some recent interviews with both of them. Kit said Jon will start listening to Sansa this season, and Sophie confirms Sansa is still a loving and good person. Those two things probably wouldn't happen if they were in full backstabbing lockdown, and if Sansa was ready to throw House Stark under the bus for her own gain and power, even if she thought getting that power was for the best. Then we have another quote from Sophie in an interview. She's finally acquired that power and respect from Jon, but not the power that she really feels that she deserves. She's respected, but not enough to be hailed Queen of the North, like she kind of hoped at the end of the last season. She's of course happy for Jon. He's family. I think she knows that now they're going to be working together a lot better, because after giving her that kill of Ramsay, he's kind of shown that he appreciates her and will listen to her a lot more. But there is a little bit of frustration and hurt there. Hurt that he didn't say anything or hail her as Queen of the North. So the whole point of this video, the lone wolf dies. So who's the lone wolf? Well, I can say with almost absolute certainty, the lone wolf isn't Sansa. Sansa isn't going to completely betray House Stark or Jon. She's gonna do some shitty things, not so honorable things, yes, but she's not going to completely just put that knife in his back and turn her back on her family. Especially when Bran and Arya gets to Winterfell, we're gonna see a change in her. Yeah, they're gonna argue a little bit, but that's pretty normal for siblings. Siblings are like professional fighters with each other. So who is the lone wolf? Well, the lone wolf, I think, quite obviously, is Baelish. So let's just get this out of the way, and my followers on this channel know how I feel. Baelish dies in season 7. Just straight up dead. That boy is in Stark territory, and he's going to bite off more than he can chew. He's fucked with the Starks enough, and he's going to get what's coming to him in a very delicious way. And I do want to say that I really believe they are playing up the Littlefinger-Sansa manipulation in the trailers as much as they're playing up the Jon-Sansa feud. Do I think he's going to be manipulating her? Of course. It's Littlefinger after all. A minute without scheming is like torture for him. However, there are several times I feel they were just simply misleading us, such as in the trailer when they tried to make us believe he was talking to Sansa when he said, "Your father and brothers are gone, and yet here you stand, last best hope against the coming storm." I don't think he's talking to Sansa but Jon Snow, possibly in the crypts. I think it's going to be very hard for Baelish to get close to Jon, so he decides to pick a time when he knows Jon will be alone, in the crypts. We see him creeping in one image in the trailer, and I believe that shot is right before he comes out to speak to Jon, and then gets a throat hug by him. Creeping on Jon while he's mourning his father or brother Rickon in the crypts probably isn't a good idea to begin with, but with the creeping, it might not just be that sets Jon off. Maybe Jon is holding a grudge against Littlefinger for leading Sansa to Ramsay, scarring the girl. Maybe Jon hears rumors about Littlefinger betraying Ned. Or maybe Littlefinger tries to manipulate Jon. Jon is near the statue of Lyanna in that shot. Littlefinger doesn't outright say, "Hey, you're the child of Lyanna and Rhaegar," but maybe he hints at it, suggesting something in his sneaky way, and Jon just has zero patience for that bullshit and chokes him out, warning him to stop his shit or get out of Winterfell. I think here he'll also tell Baelish he knows the man he is and what he's done to his sister's head, and that he needs to watch his steps in their family home. But this isn't where Littlefinger dies. Jon is going to leave Winterfell and leave Baelish with Sansa, which, Jon, maybe not the best idea. But whatever. Baelish is going to continue to play with Sansa a little bit, but I don't think she's going to bite as much as he'd hope. Sophie has been very open in recent interviews that Sansa has learned a lot from her captors and her enemies. She is one of the best at manipulating people now, and I think she's going to use those learned skills and what she's kind of gotten from her captors to fuck Littlefinger over. And I definitely think this is going to involve her sexuality, which Littlefinger wants to fuck her, and she's going to use that to fuck him over. Littlefinger talked about not fighting, but fucking to get his way.
I'm not going to fight them. I'm going to fuck them.
And it's going to be super hilarious when Sansa uses that very tactic on Littlefinger. Aiden did say in an interview that Sansa is the only place that Littlefinger could really make a mistake, and that she is his one weakness. Besides Catelyn, but Catelyn's dead. And one of the showrunners did promise some surprising hookups this season. That would certainly be a surprise. Also, Littlefinger's actor did tease their relationship this season. He said, "My character continues to build his relationship with Sansa Stark. This relationship evolves after the season into something new, something that the viewers have not seen before." That just screams sex to me, or seducing in some way, maybe not full act of sex. And I'm really hoping that quote isn't Littlefinger finally getting into Sansa's pants, or I guess under her skirt, through manipulation. God, I hope not. But Sansa getting into his pants to use him for her own power ends. But again, maybe not completely sex. However, somewhere in all this using and manipulation, Sansa is going to start remembering her father's words now that she is at Winterfell. The lone wolf dies, but the pack survives. She will realize everything Littlefinger has done is for himself. He is out for number one. He is the lone wolf, and she will not survive if she too becomes like him. Hell, let's pretend Littlefinger does seduce Sansa and starts using her. Even if it works out that way, which it could, but I doubt it, she will still come to that realization that Littlefinger is a loner and out for himself. This realization will become even more apparent when Bran and Arya get to Winterfell. I think Littlefinger will still try to push Sansa being the heir of Winterfell, even though if Jon was gone, it would then fall to Bran, and she'll really start to see through his BS at that point. She'll take that final step in breaking away from Littlefinger, realizing she's learned all she can from him, and he now has to go. And Arya will have plenty to say about Littlefinger as she saw him at Harrenhal and will likely recognize Cat's Paw, Littlefinger's Valyrian steel dagger that was used in Bran's assassination attempt, brought to King's Landing and given to Ned. After all, Arya does have Cat's Paw on her and a few promo photos for a reason. She'll see it on Littlefinger or in his room when she goes exploring and realizes something is up. She'll give Sansa the rundown on Littlefinger's bullshit, which Bran could help confirm with his powers depending on where they're going with his abilities, as they've been a bit inconsistent with those. If Arya meets up with the Hound, he could also share Littlefinger's betrayal of Ned. So this season, before we get full Darth Sansa, she's gonna finally see Littlefinger for what and who he really is. Littlefinger has been using her the entire time. Littlefinger only cares about himself. Sansa is an achievement to him, something he can possess. He wanted to bang her mom, but she'll do. She's the prettier version of Catelyn after all. His dagger, though he didn't order the assassination, was used to almost kill her brother. He betrayed her father. He sided with the Lannisters against her family. He led her to that maniac Ramsay. This season, Sansa orders Littlefinger's death and rejoins her pack.